Good morning, everyone. A reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 25, verses 31 through 40. The final judgment of the sheep and the goats. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep on his right, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on the right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you? Or thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you? Or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me." It's my great pleasure this morning to introduce to you my uncle, Dave Griffith, who in truth has always been more of an older brother to me, emphasis on older. Dave is an alumni of the Westminster School class of 1972. He's a Westminster parent, class of 2006 and 2010. He served on our Board of Trustees for many, many years, and after an enormously successful career in the corporate world, he left to become the director of Episcopal Church Services in Philadelphia, which he's going to speak with you about today. But without further ado, my uncle, Dave Griffith.
Good morning. As Charlie mentioned, my name is Dave Griffith, and indeed I graduated in 1972 and served as a trustee from 2004 to 2012. Our two children are among the 12 Griffiths who have graduated from here since 1953. While I was here, I played hockey with Pete Briggs. I was a goalie. And this was when there was no roof on the rink, so basically we were gladiators. From my hairline, or lack thereof, you will no doubt see the family resemblance. Me and my nephew Charlie, we speak class after Charlie. His dad and I are obviously brothers, and he was the first of us to go to Westminster. From here, I went on to Kenyon College in Ohio, and then for 38 years worked in the for-profit world. The last 23 years of those were with Modern Group in Bristol, PA, an industrial holding company where I remain chairman. I also serve on several public and private boards. I am currently the executive director and head coach of Episcopal Community Services. We are a 150-year-old social service agency focused on asking individuals, both participants and stakeholders, to look up and challenge poverty. We envision a world where opportunity is available to all. We do so on the bedrock values of dignity, community, justice, and impact. As an agency, we work with some 3,000 individuals a year. We are by design a learning organization, and by design a thought leader in our space. And we are advocates for change to public policy on a local, state, and federal level. I am the first non-priest, non-social worker to lead the agency. I am called to this work in part because of some of the early lessons I learned here, not all of them pretty. For the record, I am also an old, white Having been directly involved in the agency's work has been an education and a wake-up call. These learnings have altered my perspective on poverty, gender, and race in America, and my purpose today is to share that perspective with you as students and as faculty. As a community, these are issues you need to be in conversation about and take the appropriate action when the opportunity presents itself. For many of you, this may not be a comfortable conversation, but it is a conversation that needs to be had, especially in the halls of education and places like Westminster. So let me ask you a few questions. If you would please answer me by raising your hand. How many of you own more than 2 pairs of pants? How many of you know where you will sleep tonight? Not so much. How many of you know where you will sleep in a week? How many of you know where you will have dinner tonight? How many of you know if you were sick where you would go and how the bills would be paid? How many of you expect to go to college? How many of you have a home? How many of you have a home that is safe? How many of you expect a job when you graduate with your degree at a living wage? For 15% of Americans, both urban and rural, white, Hispanic, and black, the answer to many of these questions is no. This is in America, the wealthiest country in the human history, with an average household income of $59,000 a year. It is important that to understand poverty, you understand some of the numbers. So bear with me for a moment and stay with me while I share with you some of the data. There are lots of myths about poverty. Let's look at the hard facts. If you are like me, the data was part of my wake-up call. Poverty for a family of 4 in America is defined at $22,900, a number not adjusted for inflation since 1972. Safety net support is available up to $34,000 regarding food with SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, medical with Medicaid and CHIP, Children's Health Insurance Program, child care assistance, early childhood education, out of school time. However, the safety net programs in America decline $1.50 for every additional dollar earned. In Philadelphia, where I work, the poverty level is 28% of the population, or some 400,000 individuals. Half live at 50% of the poverty level, and 100,000 are children under the age of 18. In America, some 1.5 million people live on $2 a day or less. Many on safety net programs, but not all. Poverty and near poverty cuts across race, gender, and age demographics. Poverty in America in 1960 was 15%. Today, unadjusted for inflation, it remains 15%. Apparently, the war on poverty has failed. One could, and I do argue, that the vast majority of social service programs in America are in the maintenance business. What they and all of us need to be is in the changing business. In the Philadelphia region, the 14 federal and state safety net programs cost some $5.8 billion a year. Nationally, some 35% of the federal budget is allocated to this space. Despite all of this funding and history, poverty is getting worse. So what is the so what of all these numbers? Poverty will consume us as a nation if we do not deal with it as a nation. 15%, and I can argue a vastly more significant number, is a staggering cost to us as a nation. Left unchecked, the social, moral, and economic costs are unacceptable and potentially a threat as critical as any we face. The economic gap is widening, and at some point we will see social and economic unrest that will make 1968 look like a walk in the park. This is, go to your history class, 1968. None of you were born, I suspect. But this is an issue that is very much part of your and my children's future. So what do we as a society do? What do you as a Westminster community do? You are already engaged in the surrounding communities, serving a monthly lunch in Hartford, running 2 summer academic programs here for underprivileged area students, sending students over spring break for community service projects, and also, of course, and I attended this morning, your civil engagement course. But I want to challenge you to raise the bar. First, become knowledgeable. The roots of today's challenge are historic and influenced by deep-seated issues of economic justice, race, and gender. While we hold the founders' words that all men are created equal as America's guiding light, our history, and frankly our actions, tell us a very different story both then and in today's context. Poverty is not a choice. No one wants to live in poverty. Some of the most resilient people I know are participants in our program. Learn the root causes of poverty. Understand the difference between where and how you live and someone in poverty. To go deep, understand the issues of housing and family stability, of wellness, of education, of financial literacy, and workforce development. The way out of poverty is a job. Not a minimum wage job at $9 an hour without benefits, but a living wage, adjusted for inflation now, of $26 an hour with benefits. But a job at 26 hours or better starts with a core belief that opportunity with all the prerequisites is available to all. Not handouts, but access. The blunt reality is that that core belief is not true. As an old white guy, let me name the elephant in the room. It's called privilege. Of course, the way out of poverty is a job, just like the one I got when I graduated from Kenyon in 1976 with IBM. I worked incredibly hard to get where I am today. I didn't need welfare, and I thought poor people just need to get off their rear ends and get a job. The truth is, I was born on third base, and I thought I had hit a triple. I had parents, a home, their network, education, access to opportunity. Yes, I executed when I got there, but a clear path had been laid out for me. Access to opportunity was and is available to me. For many in America, and not just those in poverty, this is directly and uncomfortably not true. For many, the truth is they can't even get into the ballpark. To be clear, I'm proud of my accomplishments, but I can't, and you cannot, make the assumption that the American dream is available to all in our country. Our future as a society depends on changing that reality. Let's contrast my experience to one of our participants at ECS. Shelby, not her real name, is an African-American woman living with her grandmother. She does not know her father, and her mother is working the streets and on drugs. She is the 4th generation of her family to live in poverty. Shelby attended a public high school where the attendance rate is 45%, and the graduation percentage is far less. Fewer than 20% of her class will go on to get additional education. Her ambition was to work as a beautician because that was her experience. At 18, she was not sure where she would live when her grandmother is no longer around. She contributes all of her income of $7 an hour, 35 hours from 2 jobs with no benefits to help pay the utility bills and the rent. She has been raped twice. Unlike many of her peers, she is not a parent. Shelby is in crisis 100% of the time. No one in crisis 100% of the time can productively problem solve, let alone lift themselves up and out of poverty. Placed in the same circumstances, how would you do? I can tell you the same story 1,000 times. Many more complicated, many more tragic. Shelby does not want to be where she is. She sought us out at ECS, and working with her, we are setting goals to move her out of crisis and put her on a path that will provide her access to opportunity and, in time, real employment, and a chance to break her family's cycle of poverty. Shelby now has ambitions to work in marketing and digital media, and is in a program at Philadelphia Community College to gain the skills she will need to reach this goal. Her paid internship is more than twice her last 2 jobs. All we did is provide a safe place, access to resources, and coach her as an individual with potential and the dignity that anyone deserves. So get educated on the real story of poverty. Get the facts, not the political rhetoric that is so destructive on both sides of the aisle these days. Look at the issue not from your perspective, which frankly may be privileged, but walk with a heart that is open to justice, dignity, community, and an overwhelming sense of fairness. These are the essence of Margaret's values of character, community, involvement, and balance. The second thing you can do is when you can have the opportunity to get back and get involved. While financial support helps fund this work, the key to helping break the cycle of poverty is building relationships, mentoring, and direct involvement. Every child is one involved adult away from success. For many in poverty, there is no such adult, let alone an involved peer. There are organizations you can join and work you can do, but please do not be a poverty tourist. If you do this work, meet people where they are. Get to know them and their stories. Work when you are ready with professionals at an agency and learn to be a coach or a peer to an individual living in poverty. Remember that your experience is not their experience. Understand what it means to be privileged and do not judge. While the scale of these issues is daunting, it starts one individual at a time. Someone helped you, pay it forward when the opportunity presents itself. The vast majority of agencies and individuals in this work are in the maintenance business. They tell people what they need rather than listen. I have found that if you ask, people will tell you what they need. Be a coach and help set them goals and help them achieve them. The very base brain science tells us that individuals learning to set goals and make them move from crisis to control. In fact, the efficacy of such work goes from 30% to over 85%. As an informed volunteer, mentor, or peer, you can help do this. The lesson is in the story of the fishes. One can give a man a fish, and he eats for a day. Teach him to fish, and he eats forever. Join the movement. Be an agent of change. Teach people to fish. Help people know what fishing is. Finally, you can advocate in the appropriate ways available to you. Public policy and funding in this space are designed on science that is 20 to 30 years old and is built around the concept of maintaining people, not helping them change, and lift themselves out of poverty. You can advocate for fair housing, better education, no more regressive benefit funding as income grows, but the single best thing you can promote for is employment. Jobs with a living wage, with benefits. The way out of poverty is a job. Poverty robs individuals of choice. Choices economic well-being can provide. With housing, education, and workforce development, we can prepare individuals in poverty for the workforce. But where are the jobs? Yes, unemployment is at record lows, but a job at 40 hours a week at 26 bucks an hour with benefits, and a job at 25 hours with no benefits and $9 an hour, both count as employed individuals in the data. The working poor is a large number of the 15%. Understand and challenge the data. See the reality. Advocate for job creation and job training, and critically for individuals in poverty to have the training and access to jobs that are created. Right now, there is a lack of individuals in the trades at critical levels. Infrastructure is failing. We can fund it. New technology jobs, startups, the opportunities are there. We need incentives to be created to drive real employment, and not just for some Americans, but for all Americans. Here, the other elephant in the room is the issue of race, gender, and economic privilege. Economic privilege and access are not readily available to all. We live in an investor, bottom-line economy. We need to live in one where social impact is a significant element in an investor's criteria and not financial returns alone. I personally believe that government funding will not on its own change the level of poverty in America. It hasn't for the last 70 years. Our history suggests that public-private partnerships drive the most effective programs. Partnerships that leverage inclusion and drive social impacts are inspired and driven by the market. Think about 35% of GDP not spent on safety net could fund an awful lot of our other needs. Frankly, your generation is the one that I hope will get this right. To quote Martin Luther King in letters from the Birmingham jail, we will have to repent in this generation not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. Silence is not an option. Back then, nor now, we are running out of time. Silence and inaction are not acceptable if you are to be a force for change. There is great power in inclusion and social impact investing, and you know it intuitively. Hold your elected officials accountable. Vote when you are old enough. Be an informed citizen and start now, not just of America, but of the world. When you are in a position to do so, hold your community, your employers, and hold yourself accountable. It took me 60 years to learn what real equality looks like. Diversity is a checkbox on an EEOC form. Inclusion is a seat at the table with a voice. Social impact is a return that also drives social justice. Our best moments as a country occur when everyone has a seat and performance is measured, in part by social impact. I know, I've seen it, one can do good, make a profit, and drive change. You can make these decisions now. How you behave, what you say and write about matters. Every day and in every place. Whether you be a third former, a senior looking towards college, or faculty teaching and coaching our next generation. So in closing, let me leave you with a few thoughts on poverty, race, and privilege. First, acknowledge them. Second, get educated on the facts, the history, and the issues. Understand what works, what is maintenance, what is myth, and what drives change. Third, understand that it is in your interest to deal with these issues, as the consequences of not are unacceptable. You and Shelby could have been each other, but for the luck of circumstance. Decide what you stand for, what is acceptable, and what your hopes are for the future, not just for yourself, but for the Shelbys of this country. Fourth, when you can, reach in, volunteer, become a peer. Understand social justice is not a spectator sport. No one wants a handout. What individuals in poverty want is a hand up. Fifth, when you've done the first four, advocate, vote. Over time, drive informed public policy. Understand that your behavior on the issues of race, poverty, and gender, and privilege speaks louder long-term than any letter to the editor, and it is something you control, no one else. Look in the mirror. Do not, by your choice, participate in the appalling silence. And finally, understand that what happens here on the Hill is an extraordinary opportunity that many individuals do not have access to, let alone are aware that such an institution exists. You can coast, or you can take what you learn here and challenge the status quo. Invest now to be able to give back later. It is, in my experience, that you can and will build a good life. But know that a great one is when you do that and give back. You all can be agents of change. Much of what I learned here. Be curious, ask questions, read, and engage. Our country is built on the principles of civil and rigorous debate, discourse, and compromise, not political correctness and agendas. A rising tide starts with the core principles of the common good as a foundation. Years from now, the head start you get here will be the basis for success. Use that success to lift all boats. You will know that one of the core values of BCS is impact. All that we do is based on the core value that what we do has an impact. If it does not, we stop. Our work demands no less. I would suggest to you it is also a good value to have as an individual. Answer one fundamental question. Does what you do make a difference beyond yourself? Life, real living, is not all about being comfortable. I have come to learn that by doing and facing the uncomfortable, one learns the most, grows the most, and it is rarely fatal. Scar tissue from such experience is the best teacher. You can live in fear of people different than you, or you can meet people where they live and find common ground. In doing so, you too can look up and challenge poverty. It is my working definition and implementation of grit and grace. It is your choice. Choose wisely, but choose, knowing that not everyone has the gift or the privilege of choice. Respect that gift. Thank you. My unique honor to speak with you and engage with you this morning, and let me leave you with one last thought. Remember, I was a gladiator, and what I would ask, at least I forget, that in your spare time, you beat Avon.